Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first ever President's Panel in honor of Hispanic Serving Institutions Week. My name is Adelpha Lorenzano, and I'm joined today with my Title V colleagues, Dr. Gurpreet Bogle, Dr. Stephanie Briones, Juliana Martinez, and David Childers. We're very excited to have you join us today. As we begin today's event, I ask that you take into consideration, what does it mean to be an HSI? And what are you doing to serve our students in your role? Now, I'd like to introduce Dr. Stephanie Briones, moderator for today's event.
Thank you so much, Adelpha, for that kind introduction, and welcome everyone to this webinar. We thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, especially during lunchtime, but we promise that you're in for a treat. And so, as Adelpha mentioned, this is the start of Hispanic Serving Institution Awareness Week. And so we wanted to kick this off by asking our leadership within the district specifically on the importance of being a federally recognized Hispanic serving institution, and what essentially does servingness mean within these contexts. And so before I begin by asking and introducing our presidents, I'd like to introduce Chancellor Goldsmith to give an introduction and a hello to the panel.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I'd like to thank Dr. Barones and everyone who's come together to put together this first ever HSI Servingness webinar. We're really excited by this. As you may know, last week, our board took action on the first ever resolution for Hispanic Heritage Month. And what a fitting activity this is in Hispanic Serving Awareness Week. And you asked the question about the importance of being an HSI and what that means in terms of the United States Department of Education. And for those of you who are just tuning in and you may not know, let me share with you the U.S. Department of Education. To get the federal definition, you have to have your head count or your student body count be at least 25% Hispanic. And just a little bit of data that the IR folks gave me this morning, we've definitely surpassed that. Clovis Community College has over 4,000 students currently, which puts them in at 49% of their population is Hispanic. Marera Community College coming in at 3,993 students, which puts them at 69%. Very impressive for Madera. And then Reedley College, which has our highest population percentage with 6,633 students being Hispanic, representing 75% of the student body being Hispanic. And Fresno City College being our largest institution with 14,630 students, representing 64% population. So when you think about those numbers, 14,000, 6,000, 4,000, there are literally thousands of reasons why we want to think about being a better servant to our Hispanic serving institutions. How can we take that servingness up a notch? So it's about awareness. And some people may think, well, why would we even want to be HSI? Well, if the numbers don't sway you, let me give you another reason why. The U.S. Department of Education has a number of grant opportunities that are only eligible for HSI granting institutions, which at last count across the nation, there's only about 450 institutions that are Hispanic federally HSI serving. So for us, it's important, how can we support our students and their success in a way that fosters a welcoming and inclusive environment? How can we enhance their success and their experience? How do we engage with the community in a way that is mutually beneficial to our Hispanic population? The opportunity for cultural exchanges, again, looking at our mission to serve students. So again, I just want to say thank you for bringing us all together. This is the first time we've done this. You're going to hear from our presidents today about what is going on specifically at their colleges. And I just want to thank everybody who's taking time during your lunch break to join us. And again, congratulations to all of our organizers to what will be the first of many of these events coming in future years. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Goldsmith, for that wonderful introduction and that wonderful motivation to be active listeners and also to think about some future steps for HSI Awareness Week. And so I'm speaking on behalf of one of our programs that specifically are grant-based, based upon HSI designations, and those are Title V grants. And Title V is basically DHSI grants, so Developing Hispanic Serving Institutions grants. So as the directors, we felt that it was very important and imperative to have these conversations and to show all of the wonderful work that is currently being done on our individual campuses and also within our district. So what better place to ask about leadership and to ask about Servingness than to ask our presidents to share a little bit about Servingness within their college. So we have 4 presidents here today. So Dr. Kim Armstrong is here from Clovis Community College. Dr. Jerry Buckley is here from Reedley College. Dr. Robert Pimentel is here from Fresno City College. And Dr. Angel Reina is here from Madera Community College. And so we have 2 questions here today because I know that we will definitely have a lot of specific examples. But as I did say in the webinar chat, if there are any questions that you may have, I would encourage you to write them down in the Q&A section. If we have time at the end, we may have some opportunities to do a Q&A session, but we also hope to continue this conversation afterwards as well. So please feel free to ask your questions throughout. And so the first question, I'll direct it to Dr. Armstrong and Dr. Buckley to begin. And that is, what is your definition of HSI servingness? And what are some current examples of servingness within your institution?
Would you like for me to go first?
Yes, please.
Okay. This is a very important question that was brought to my attention when I came to Clovis. I had a chance to meet with Dr. Briones, and we talked about this very question. The definition of being HSI is based on numbers, as Dr. Goldsmith has said earlier. We do have 49%. But what intrigued me was when we talk about servingness, and that does mean how do we actually serve beyond just having the numbers? What are we doing to make sure that we are being respectful, but also advancing the needs of our Hispanic and Latinx students? Some of the things we're doing on campus, one, I want to bring to your attention that for 2 years in a row, Clovis Community College has rated #1 in the state for Latinx student rate of transfer to a 4-year institution. So not only are we having the numbers of HSI of Hispanic students in our colleges, we also are making sure that they graduate and transfer at a high rate. That's very important. Number 2, we have on campus, you will see on both of our campuses, you will see the monarch butterfly flags flying. We're letting our students and our community know that we are supportive and we have services on our campus to support those DACA students. They are welcome here. So a very visible demonstration of who we are and what we believe in. Number 3, and I'm very proud of this one, during our Crush Days orientation, we have the information provided in Spanish so that our families who are supporting our students, because we do know that is a very family-focused culture. We're being very attuned to that, and we are providing the information in Spanish so that the parents and other support systems, grandparents, aunts, uncles who are all there to support their students during orientation are involved and know what's being said. So we're very proud of that too. And we have a president's advisory committee, a Hispanic advisory committee, because again, we recognize the importance of the community. So these community leaders who volunteer to serve on my advisory committee are serving as mentors and other resources to connect our students into the communities that they live in and that they serve. And then, of course, as mentioned earlier, we do have the Title V grants that we are most proud of, especially that one in STEM, to encourage more of our Hispanic students to go into and be successful in the STEM areas. Dr. Buckley.
Thank you, Dr. Armstrong. I guess I'll begin by simply saying that I did a bit of research myself to take a look at Servingness. We've certainly seen a recent webinar on that topic, but I wanted to really read more deeply on the subject, and looking at a recent article that was sponsored by the American Council on Education. Servingness, in terms of its structures, can be really defined in terms of components of your mission and purpose statements, as was mentioned, grant support, your decision-making processes, equity-minded leadership, your policies, as well as curricular and co-curricular structures, and institutional advancement activities, diversity of faculty, staff, and administrators, and finally, as Dr. Armstrong mentioned, engagement with the community. So if you think about Reedley's history, one of the things that stands out is that we've had a 35-year history of working with federal grants, specifically Title III TRIO grants, to engage our younger population and their families. In fact, as Dr. Armstrong mentioned, we have a regular meeting each year with the families themselves in Spanish to pursue why higher education is important. And so we'd like to think that our Upward Bound and Educational Talent Search programs, of which we have actually 8 of those TRIO grants, they feed, if you will, the younger generation, the high schoolers as well, into our college programs. Beyond that, you can see that we also have 3 Title V grants that are currently working in concert to help build more support for Hispanic students, as well as actually enhance the environment for all of our students. Our mission, vision, and values obviously support the work that we do as well. We can look at our academic indicators and realize that of the number that Dr. Goldsmith mentioned, when you look at persistence in our population, the average persistence of our students is 68%. You look at our Hispanic population, and that's at 71%. The average 3-year completion is at 17% compared to 17% for Hispanic students. And then finally, total awards. Last year, we awarded roughly 2,600 awards. 2,000 of those went to our Hispanic students. So I think you can see that the work that we're doing certainly can be reflected in the outcomes that we measure as well. We have a number of other things we could comment on. There are non-academic indicators, including our club structures and whatnot. We have other skills that are certainly emphasized. We have an equity committee that works specifically in the area of developing concepts such as we'll talk about a bit later, looking to develop a multicultural center here on campus to indeed impact our engagement with our students. That's a major factor. So I think I'll let that be it for now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Armstrong and Dr. Buckley. I really found the importance of community and family to be especially relevant within Servingness, because when we do serve our students, we serve a community and a culture as well. And so I'd be really interested in hearing further examples of Servingness from Dr. Pimentel and Dr. Reyna.
I can get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Well, we have structures for serving at Fresno City College that we've set up, and I think it aligns pretty well with some of the definitions that have been provided already on Servingness for HSIs. For example, we have a mission statement, value statements that, are really anti-racist and equity-centered, very important to the work that we do, not just for Hispanic students, but all of our students. But because we are a Hispanic serving institution, it's really well aligned with the definition of Servingness for this purpose. We have an equity plan, for example, that really focuses on our men of color, and Latino males are one of the main focuses that we have at this campus to recruit and retain and continue to work with to get them to the graduation day. We also have a variety of HSI grants that we've been trying to set up the campus to really serve students, or Hispanic students in this case, and get them to that finish line. We're trying new things, trying to see what works so that we could sustain it. With Title V grants, you have to sustain the work that you're trying out. So we're really trying to see how it's going to work to make sure that we continue to push that work forward. We engage with the community, and that's very important, as an HSI, because the community brings a lot of ideas to us that we maybe haven't thought about. I have meetings with many community members that bring ideas. Some of them are not something that we want to do, but they are ideas at the end of the day, and so we try to make sure that they know that their voices are being heard, and some of the programs that we have here on campus. We're also hiring staff that looks like our students. Slowly but surely, we're changing the landscape of our staffing looks on our campuses. I think the whole entire district is doing a very good job at doing that. And then, just hiring staff that's equity minded, that knows it's not necessarily staff that looks like students. That's not the only thing that's important. It's also staff that really aligns to the mission of the colleges. That's super important. And then we have special programs like mentoring programs and things of that nature, so that we could make sure that we continue to serve our students in the way that they need to be served. When I was doing a little bit more digging and more research on this, the experience of students is very important. And if you have an opportunity to walk to Fresno, on the Fresno City campus, you'll find a lot of cultural activities. And I think those are very important to Servingness as an HSI. I'll pass it on to Dr. Reyna.
Thank you, Dr. Pimentel, and buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure and honor to be with you here this afternoon. As obviously my colleagues have shared a lot already, but for me, in terms of how I define Hispanic servingness, is the creation of the sense of belonging. I think for me, as also Hispanic, Latinx identified student, that sense of belonging in a higher education institution was a challenge for me. I didn't feel like I belonged. And that was a challenge and a barrier for me. I recall when I, even went to get my master's, et cetera, I didn't feel like I belonged. I wanted somebody to come and tell me, you don't belong here, you need to leave. And I would have been comfortable with that because, I've truly felt that. And so one of the things, as we get into, what my colleagues have shared about how you define servingness, is the decision-making aspect of it. So that lived experience as a Hispanic Latinx identified individual, I can help make decisions that are relevant to the community that we serve. Because the main reason that I applied at Madera Community College for the president job is because I wanted to represent and reflect the students and the community that I serve. And those things are critically important as we define the percentages of who we're serving, et cetera. To Dr. Pimentel's point, those things matter. When students can see themselves in individuals that are leaders and are, making decisions that impact them, it's critically important. Also that they're equity minded, of course. So some of the things that we've been doing is, I think some of our colleagues shared, is signage. I think that matters. As you come into Madera Community College, the sign you see says, "Welcome to Madera Community College," and right underneath it, it says, "Bienvenidos." So we want to make sure that not only our students, but also our faculty and staff know that they're welcome on this campus, right? I remember when I was, a dean somewhere, and they did that at one of the colleges, I felt welcome, even as a dean. I was like, okay, wow, this is like something I haven't seen, and I felt that. The other piece, as we talk about what are some programming and things that we're doing, we're very proud. We became the 4th community college in the state of California to get the College Assistance Migrant Program, because it was near and dear to my heart because of my lived experience and the community that we serve. The other piece that we're working on collaboratively with faculty is the culturally relevant curriculum and pedagogical approaches to validate the lived experience of our students and our community, not only for Latinx, Hispanic identified, but all of our students. Because I think it's critically important for them to feel that connection inside the classroom as well. What we're also doing is, when we had the opportunity to try to hire a ethnic studies faculty member, we knew the first one we wanted to hire was Chicano, Chicana, Chicanx, Latinx identified faculty member because of the students that we serve. One of the other things that we've done in our commencement when we had our first ever commencement was I made the decision to bring in a mariachi band because that connects with the community that we serve, and it's gone a long ways, and everybody loves it. And they've loved it because you could see in our videos after the fact, families stick around and listen to the mariachi music and are dancing with their family members in celebration. So those are some of the things that we've done. And I know as a newer institution, we were also recognized as the Latinx Equity Champion, which like Dr. Armstrong, we're very proud of. And we also want to see, how are these things that we're doing impacting all of our students, because as presidents, all of our students matter, but just highlighting some of the things with our Latinx Hispanic identified students. And then I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Briones, because I could go on and on, but I want to leave space for all of us here to share.
No, thank you, Dr. Reina. I appreciate that. One theme that I found from all four of our presidents is the importance of belonging and community. So we do that in a lot of different ways. We do that in inviting the community voices, inviting the community perspectives, inviting it in multiple languages. But we also do that in terms of our nonverbal, in terms of what our policies represent, what our curriculum represents, who our faculty look like, what our signage represents. So all of these are really important aspects to building that sense of community. Not only are we ensuring that students are successful, but we're ensuring that students feel safe and connected. And one population that our campuses are doing that with is specifically our Latino population. So I really appreciated all of these answers and these insights. And the most important thing for HSI Awareness Week and for these HSI initiatives is the hope that we can keep this momentum going and that we can see engaging and innovative ideas within our future. So we'll move on to our second question, and we'll begin with Dr. Buckley and Dr. Armstrong. And that's, how do you intend to continue these efforts of servingness and or expand upon current efforts in the future?
Dr. Armstrong, since you mentioned me first, do you mind if I take?
That's what I want to go right ahead.
Very good. Thank you. Well, building on some of the comments I made earlier and the words of my colleagues, I agree that engagement is probably the single most important factor that we need to not only consider from our past, but also look forward to in our future. One of the reasons why in our Title V work, we actually formed an office of Hispanic serving programs, which is headed up by Adelpha. So we are looking for ways to basically integrate and sustain our work even beyond grants for that matter. So for example, in our equity committee plan, the equity plan for Reedley College, we do talk about the need to use data to help inform our processes, even looking at our various pathways and finding out within our various groups, where do we need to apply additional resources? And for example, one that came recently, the beginning of this semester, we spent $400,000 on additional support for students. And it turned out that one of the major areas in our population of students, primarily Hispanic, was the issue of transportation. And so gift cards for gas actually turned out to be one of the major factors that helped our students remain in school. So that's something we not only did at the beginning of this fall semester, we're looking for ways to sustain that effort to help students that have transportation issues beyond the normal issues of providing bus passes and related solutions. So we're trying to be creative in that area. We also, as I mentioned, are really looking at a way to develop a multicultural center on campus where our various affinity groups can meet directly with students and help provide that mentorship that Dr. Pimentel talked about. I know many of us are doing the same sorts of things, but in specific ways that really are unique to our individual campuses. I know in our case, our basic needs have expanded just logarithmically, especially over the pandemic. And we're looking to create an entire basic needs center this year that not only meets the students' immediate needs, but then also, much as Fresno City is already doing, ties them into our existing social services within the county to make sure they have sustained support throughout their career as a student here and beyond, for that matter. As was also mentioned, we are looking to increase our professional development footprint to make sure that the curriculum is indeed sponsoring cultural competency amongst our faculty. And for that matter, we have a similar program amongst our classified staff. So those are some ways in which we hope to grow towards the future. But above all, we want the campus to look and feel welcoming, much as it does on that very first day when we're all on campus, actually welcoming our new students. In fact, I can remember helping over a dozen students myself on the first day of classes this fall. I don't think anything replaces having that individual contact with a student, helping them find where they need to be that very first day.
I agree with everything my colleague, Dr. Buckley, said. I do want to say something about some of the things that I've seen since I've been here. And one is, of course, Fresno City's Men of Color. I have been informed that one of my Hispanic male student success coaches is starting a Men of Color program on our campus specifically for Hispanic males. So again, when there is an opportunity or initiative that's working, it's very nice to be able to look at that, learn from it, and replicate it so that our students can have the same kind of opportunities. And of course, to partner with Fresno City and all of our initiatives, because they have come to the college and have helped us. So I'm very, very thankful for that. The other thing that we're looking to do is create more engagement opportunities on campus. This is very important post-COVID. As you know, or may not know, we have a high school right across the street from us. And I had a unique situation, and Dr. Briones knows about this, where a student actually contacted me and a couple of our deans and said, do you have any kind of student specific club for Hispanic students? And I said, not at this time. So she's been at the table with us and with our community advisory groups and helping us to figure out what the needs are, especially for that age population. So that's very important. We're very excited to increase our number of activities, but also to listen to our students and their needs. With that also being said, we are looking at doing more focus groups very specific to our groups, or Hispanic, African American, Asian American, LGBTQIA+, very specific, finding out from them, the students' voice, what those needs are. So these are things that we're doing. And I think I have mentioned just about all of them. But again, most importantly, like we were saying before, engagement, helping our students to feel welcome on our campuses. And that's what we're looking to increase at Clovis Community College.
Thank you so much, Dr. Armstrong and Dr. Buckley. Dr. Armstrong, I love when you said we want to take ideas and initiatives that are being done from our sister colleges and continue that effort. And that's one of the main reasons why, as Title V, we all came together as a district, because in some ways, you know, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but in other ways, we want to support our district together and support our initiatives and our equity mindedness together. And so the ways to do that is really just seeing the best practices and continuing those efforts. So that way our students feel included and welcomed at all 4 of our campuses. So I really appreciated that comment and that sentiment. And we'll continue on with Dr. Reyna and with Dr. Pimentel. So for question number 2, as a reminder, how do you intend to continue the efforts of Servingness and or expand upon current initiatives and efforts in the future?
And I'll go first just to mix it up a little bit. Thank you, Dr. Briones. I just want to set a little context for folks that may not know. We won the Lumina $1 Million Challenge about a year ago. The framework was around sentido de pertenencia, which is that sense of belonging that I shared previously. And I state that because we wanted to center the majority of the students that we serve and the community that we serve. And when we made that application and the implications it had in terms of what we were going to do after the fact. And Dr. Buckley mentioned this. So one of the things within the grant, we indicated we would develop a multicultural center for our students. And that is in process. It's currently in DSA. So we're moving on that. Another thing with the Lumina Foundation was to develop community events on our campus. We had an open house in April. Our second one will be October 14th. But our messaging using the radio stations, TV has been primarily in Spanish to be able to engage our community. I don't know if anybody saw the Fresno State Eastern Washington game, but we had a commercial there in Spanish, and we wanted to be able to support that, but we were out there representing the district, of course. The other thing within the Lumina $1 Million Challenge are murals, and we just actually closed that out, and we have about 6 murals that are going to be on our campus, and we paid top dollar, I should say Lumina did. So we're going to get top-notch artists that are going to present, and they're all around Hispanic servingness in terms of the murals primarily. So one of them is, migrant farm worker agricultural mural. Another one is on Chicano art. Another one is of our student graduates. 2 other ones. One is Dolores Huerta and another one of Cesar Chavez. And then the last one is of our indigenous community because of the land we're situated on. And so we're putting some of the things that we've done into action to, support our students and our college, of course. The other thing, one of the things that we started and I want to continue to expand on is having a parent Spanish night. As my colleagues have mentioned previously, our students are very well connected to their parents. And, as I reflected when we had our first Spanish night, this is just a personal story. My wife shared with me, my parents, she was the first in her family to go to a community college. And she told me, I'm glad you're having this for parents, because when I went to community college, my parents thought I should be in school all day. And so when I was coming home midday because of scheduling, they thought I was skipping classes and I wasn't doing what I needed to do. And or the financial aid aspect. And I think we kind of know some of those things. So we were able to address some of those things. And I think it's critically important that we know the students that we're serving, we know the families that we're serving, and the culture, more importantly, that we're serving, to be able to educate and make them partners in the education. And I know some of us do, the Padres como Compañeros sessions, and that's very helpful too. But I think we did it right before the beginning of the semester, and it was very helpful. The other thing that we've done, we've engaged with the migrant education program here locally. And when we met with them, they told me, hey, 90% of our students that are Madera Unified that are in the migrant education program go to Madera Community College. And I asked them, have we done anything formally to make those students feel welcome and create a seamless pathway to us? And they said, no, we haven't. So what we did my first year here, and then COVID interrupted a little bit, is we created what was called the first annual Migrant Youth Leadership Conference. On our campus, we had over 200 students attend with some family members. Then we restarted that last December, and we're going to continue that this December or November once again, because we want to make sure that our students feel welcome even before they arrive, and their parents feel welcome even before they arrive on our campus. The last thing that I'll mention in terms of what we're doing to continue this is we mentioned men of color, peer mentoring, and so forth. So we're working with San Diego State and Dr. Frank Harris to develop a peer mentoring program, because at Madera Community College, we have the lowest percentage of men of color that are attending percentage-wise. And so one of the things we want to do is address that component. And I just will end on my piece is that, Hispanic servingness and equity work and anti-racism work isn't just Title V work. It isn't just the president's work. It isn't just the chancellor's work. It's all of our work. And I just want to make sure I stress that and share that. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Dr. Pimentel.
Thank you, Dr. Reyna. Well, it's a little hard going last because they've all said everything that I wanted to say. But I do want to go back to the concept of making our students feel welcome at the campus. I think it's very important that our students identify with people on campus, our staff, our faculty, and that our folks on campus are understanding of where our students are at and where they're coming from. We do a lot of stuff here on campus. We do a lot of professional development for our faculty, our staff. Anyone that is hired, that is brand new to our campus, goes through a series of trainings just to make sure that they understand what our mission is, what our vision is. And so any of our new faculty and staff that are coming to the campus, they really have an understanding of where we're going. And hopefully they feel welcome themselves, coming to a campus that is really focused on making sure that students feel welcome here. And if they don't, then that's a different story. But we want to make sure that people are really understanding that this is Fresno City College is a place for students to come and feel welcome. All of our students, regardless of race, ethnicity, beliefs, anything, we want to make sure that this is a place where people come to learn how to be critical thinkers, and this is what we want to stress. Our Hispanic population is over 60%, as Dr. Goldsmith mentioned at the very beginning. So we do target our Hispanic population a lot. And when we're doing outreach, I do a lot of commercials in Spanish, and I never thought the impact that would have on the community. But when I'm out, people tell me, "Hey, I saw your commercial on Spanish while I was watching the news, and I didn't know you spoke Spanish." I'm like, I barely speak English, so you should know that I do speak Spanish. Spanish is my first language. So it's very important that our students feel welcome and that they have people that look like them here on campus to really make them feel comfortable. And that professional development for faculty and staff also, to make sure that students understand that we are here to serve them at all times. I try to walk around anytime a meeting gets canceled or anytime that I have an opportunity to go out and talk to students. I do it because I have to remind myself and remind people that if it wasn't for our students, then what are we doing here? We're here to educate people, and that's our job. That's our main job. I try to hang out with our athletes. I do as much as I possibly can with the limited amount of time that we have. But it is important that students see us, even us as presidents, walking around campus, greeting them, talking to them. I often walk around with students and just walk with them. I don't even tell them who I am or what I do. And they don't ask. They just, we go follow along with the conversation. Sometimes I just walk into my office. They're like, "Oh, you're the president." And like, yes, but that doesn't matter. We're here to provide a service, and I like to remind myself of that and make sure that all the staff and managers are aware of that as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reyna, Dr. Pimentel, for your responses. A lot of great ideas came with it. One of my favorite quotes from Dr. Reyna was to be a partner in education. And so what we know from our Latino students, or from all of our students, is that they are an intersectional identity. And part of that intersectional identity is being first generation college student. And so I myself was a first generation community college student. And I know that my parents tried their best to help, but there was just some resources that we didn't know. And I wish that I had the resource of having financial aid explained to my parents, having class schedule situations explained, because my family did want to support me. They do want to support me. I just finished school myself, and they were right there cheering me on. But it is a complicated process. So I love that community aspect in saying that we know that there are community members that want to support our students in their educational journey, but they just may not know how. And so I really appreciated that. And then Dr. Pimentel, I loved how you just reiterated what all of our presidents are saying, is that it's everybody's job to help our students feel welcome and included, including the president, but also everybody here on this panel, and everybody who works within the college. we should all be thinking about how we're serving all of our students and helping all of our students feel welcome and included. And one population we could consider would be our Latino student population. So lots of great ideas and lots of great motivations to continue on well beyond Hispanic Serving Institution Awareness Week and Hispanic Heritage Week. So I'll turn it over to Chancellor Goldsmith for some closing thoughts on the panel. We do also encourage a Q&A. So at this time, if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in. If we don't have time to answer it on this webinar, we will continue to answer it throughout the week, throughout the school year. So Chancellor Goldsmith.
Thank you. You know, as I was listening to the presidents, you may have heard a theme emerge about engagement and creating a sense of belonging and welcoming. That's critical to our mission. And I know right now we are going through our process of the State Center 2035, where we're re-examining our values. And I think this very event is really a demonstration of those values in terms of being not only inclusive, but being intentional in creating environments where a sense of belonging. You know, the first ever resolution for Hispanic Heritage Month, our building downtown will be lit up in the official colors of the Hispanic Heritage Month. This acknowledgement of Hispanic Serving Institution Week and this very webinar, I think, speaks to what our willingness is collectively to work together to support our Hispanic students and to support one another. You know, Dr. Pimentel shared what came out of our EEO report, which we shared with the board a few months ago. At each of our colleges throughout the district, our Hispanic hirings in every category, administrator, classified professional, and faculty member, both full-time and part-time, has increased over the last 5 years. And yet we know that's not enough, because it's not merely enough just to make sure people see themselves in the people we hire. Of course, we're thoughtful and intentional, but we have to do more than that. You know, Dr. Reyna talked about his ad in Univision. You might have saw one from the district as well. We're intentionally doing collective media buys, knowing where our students go, knowing where their families get information, to share information with our parents that education is important. We hear too often when you pick up the newspaper or an article about how, you know, is higher education worth it? All of us, let me say this again, all of us, regardless of your race, regardless of your sex, regardless of who you love, who you pray to, if you're a faculty member, classified member, all of us need to be able to share the truth and what the importance of higher education is, not only in terms of economics. We know that. I mean, economics, and when you get a higher education, you get on that pathway, we know economically you're going to improve that student's life, that family member's life. But it's more than that. It's more than that. Becoming more educated helps your health. It helps your mental health. It helps you create a better understanding of the environment that we live in, both in terms of geopolitical environment, but also the physical environment. It is for a better citizenship that we must encourage all students to continue on their path. And when you look at the sheer volume of Californians being Hispanic and Latino, it is imperative that we share the value of education. You know, I want to go back to that point about Dr. Pimentel showing that our Hispanic hires have been up. And while that is something we're all very proud of, it's more than that. It's about a culture of a mindset of creating a belongingness, an engagement, and a welcomeness. That means we need to educate ourselves about the importance of not only months and weeks like this, where we are celebrating Hispanic Serving Institutions and Hispanic Heritage Month, but that we think about being multicultural in our approach, so all students and all employees feel welcome and a sense of belonging here. I know in the question Daisy asked, are all state center campuses getting a multicultural center? So let me share something here. I know Dr. Buckley's looking at repurposing some space for that. And I believe the other presidents are looking at repurposing space as well. When you look at our enrollment, it's going up, but we know a lot of our students are staying online. So how do we repurpose some of our space, given that instruction is occurring virtually now? So how do we repurpose some of that space? Those are conversations that will be taking place at each of the colleges as we go through that 2035 visioning about who it is and who is it we serve, how is it we want to serve, what do our buildings look like, what kind of spaces do we want to create. We know that affinity space is important for our students and staff. So I would encourage all of you, when you see those conversations occurring on your campus, that you become engaged. Work with the various groups, whether you're an academic senate or classified senate, or you're a student and student government. Engage in that process and speak your mind about what it is you would like to see. I think it'd be a wonderful thing if all of our campuses had that space where we could come together and learn about different cultures and how can we be a part in that mission of making sure people feel welcome here. So I just want to thank the organizers of this group for putting this together. And I'll pause there, except for one more thing to say, really, that is our main task, right? To work together to support our students and support one another. I hope you hear my sincerity when I say that, because I thank all of you on this webinar, and those who are not, because they're actually right now maybe either eating lunch or meeting with the student. You're doing that work, and that's why we're seeing our enrollment improve. So thank each and every one of you for the work that you do every day to advance our student success, because that's why we're here.
As we wrap up today's event, we would like to thank our presidents and our chancellor for joining us today, and all of you for attending. Please take the opportunity to research Servingness and what it means to our campuses. We as Title V's are here to provide educational resources and encourage you to look up Dr. Gina Garcia, who is a great resource for all things HSI, and recommend you take a few moments to read her work. So thank you so much once again from all of us, District Title V directors.